everybody, welcome to our morning meeting. We are going to be taking one of our newest ambassadors on a walk this morning. He is still in our medical clinic, but we have all of our paperwork and everything set to go. We're just waiting on the final permit from the state for him. So we're really excited. He does physical therapy every so often to make sure that his muscles are staying healthy and to keep him active. So we're going to take him on a little physical therapy walk. But come on in and let me know that you're here. Tell me where you're from and good morning. Say good morning. And we will get started with George, the wood turtle's physical therapy. George has an amazing story, and I'll tell you guys all about him when we're watching him walk around. I'm going to try to limit how much I actually am picking him up and handling him, because he is still considered a patient, although we do have all of his paperwork saying he is set to become an ambassador, and we're just waiting on that final okay from the state. He has a non-releasable letter from our vet, so we know for sure that he is non-releasable, and you'll find out why during his story. So really quickly, before we put him down, let me give you guys a good look at his face. This is George. Hi, George. George is a wood turtle. You can see I'm wearing gloves. And wood turtles are actually a very rare species of turtle. They are endangered in the United States, so we're really lucky to have him with us. And we'll be taking him on a little walk. So I'm gonna put George down and see where he wants to go and flip the camera. Good morning, everyone. Hello, Joanne, Nicole, Rebecca, Caitlin, Uncle David, Ryan. Good morning, Rebecca and Xander, Joanne, Rob, Kim, Kristen. Hello, everybody. So let's see where George wants to take us today. So George is a wood turtle. Wood turtles are a northern species of turtle. They occur kind of throughout New England, the Northeast, up into Canada, and then as far west as Michigan. But they really are quite rare and becoming more rare due to habitat loss and, where are you going? And habitat fragmentation. So they don't do quite so well living among people. You can't go all the way under the bush, buddy. So we only really see these guys living in pretty densely forested areas, and they do need quite a bit of space. They are semi-aquatic, so whether they're on land or in water really depends on what season and time of year it is. They will live on both or in both. I know, but we got to go this way. And these guys will spend most of the summer on land, and then they'll spend the winters, they'll overwinter under the water. Hi, Carolyn. Good morning. So George here has a really fascinating story. He was brought to us as a patient initially last winter, and was brought in by someone who found him living in a classroom. So he was a classroom pet for a while. He had a permanent injury that he has sustained, most likely being hit by a car, but they don't really know for sure how it happened. So somebody found him and knew that he was an endangered species of turtle. The state got involved and wanted to make sure that this little guy got to a safe place, and so they contacted us, and it took us quite a while to get our hands on George here. He had to be transferred. There was lots of back and forth with the folks at the school, the folks at the state. Transportation was a big thing to coordinate, but we finally got him, and it turned out that he had an injury to his front. Let me show you guys. If you guys can see, there's a crack. I know. Come here, baby. If you guys can see, It's okay. There's a crack right there. He is actually missing his front leg. So that was part of his initial injury. He has a crack to his shell. He has, I know. He has, you can't go in the water, buddy. He has this crack, and then he was missing that front leg there. And so he was a patient with us for a while. And because he is an endangered species of turtle, and because we know that there are so few of these guys in the wild, we wanted to do everything and exhaust all of our options to make sure that he could go back into the wild. So we got in touch with a researcher at Unity College, who was running a wood turtle project where they tag and you got yourself stuck there, bud. They radio tag wood turtles and study their species and their population. And this researcher informed us that they frequently, I know, but you're stuck. There you go. They frequently see wood turtles all the time in the wild with missing a limb. Either it gets bitten off by a predator, or they lose it in an accident like George. So, and they have pretty good survivability. They don't seem to require the use of all 4 of their limbs to survive in the wild. So what we did was we got in touch with this person, and they included him in their study for a little bit. So we were able to release George. He had a radio tag on him. You can actually kind of see on his back, there's a darker spot where that radio tag was fixed. He was included in this study. He traveled very long, far distances in the study. He was with them until the next summer. And when they tracked him down again to see how he was doing, they found that he was actually missing part of his other foot. And I don't know if you guys can see, but now his other foot is missing. He has a little stump there. So he lost his other front foot to most likely a predator. And after that, it was decided that he was not going to make it out in the wild. You know, maybe they can make it with 3 legs, but probably not only 2. As you can see, George can still get around pretty well. He can still walk around pretty well, but he does have an increased risk of predation with his injuries. So he was deemed non-releasable, and has a vet letter from our lovely vet John, who said was able to say no, he's definitely not going to be able to be released. And we kind of tested it, right? We did want to give him the best chance that we could, and we are very happy to have him with us. We are still waiting on official permits from the state. So this is his physical therapy walk today. He's going to be included in our beautiful new nature center. We're really excited to welcome him to the ambassador team, but he is not releasable, so we at least know he can't go back out into the wild. He really doesn't have any luck, Joanne. And what's a shame about George is it's hard to know exactly how old he is, but he is a fairly older turtle. These guys in the wild can live up to be like 40 years old. So he's probably somewhere between like 15, 20 years old. And what's a shame about that is it actually takes them about that long to reach maturity in the wild. So they can't start having their own babies until they reach that age, until they're about 14, 15 years old. So if he were in the wild, he would be, I'm sure, a great dad turtle. He is fairly large, so he would probably do really well, but with those injuries, we just we are not able to confidently say that he would be able to survive in the wild. And then after testing that theory, we know for sure. So George is going to live with us. These guys can live up to 60 years in captivity, so we'll have him with us for a long time. Wood turtles are amazing. They are actually quite large and are called wood turtles for that beautiful pattern that you see on their shell. They are almost wooden in texture. You can see the raised lines. Where are you going? I know. They also are sometimes called old red legs because they do have the reddish orange markings on their front halves. Let's go this way, baby. There you go. So they do have some reddish and orange markings that helps to blend in with the silt and the sand that they're going to be in the water. They are semi-aquatic, so they really like to live in several different areas, several different ecosystems. They really like, you know, a fast running stream, but they also do like to be up on the bank of that stream. They will move their location to find the right temperatures. So they thermoregulate really well. They regulate their body temperature by moving throughout the habitat. And these guys like to be at a certain temperature. They actually will bask in the sun to reach about 99 degrees, almost 100 degrees internally in the summer. And then in the winter, they'll go under the water and kind of bury themselves down in the river mud for the winter. And these guys are reptiles, so they are what we would call a cold-blooded animal, or an ectotherm, meaning that they don't have the ability to regulate their own body temperature. So that's why they have to move throughout the environment to maintain the right temperature for their bodies. And they need to stay warm enough in order to keep their cells going, in order to keep their bodies digesting. So they actually, it's a necessity that they are able to move throughout a gradient, unless you have a pretty large tank. And these guys are a larger turtle. I know, but you were kind of going in a bad direction, buddy. So we're gonna go this way. Good job. So we're letting George just take his morning stroll, trying not to handle him too much. He's very good at getting around. You can see he actually does a really great job of crawling with only three or two legs and a stump. He doesn't really use that front left part of his shell at all, but he is able to use this stump a little bit. You're so cute. I know. So you can see those red legs. Good job, buddy. Nice job. So we do this to keep him active, to keep him healthy, to make sure he has enough enrichment, make sure he can get around. We are hoping that shortly, once it starts getting warmer at night, we will be able to put him into an outdoor enclosure so that he can live outside. What's that? There you go. It's gone. So this little guy is going to be with us for the long haul. We're very excited. Hi, Penelope. Good morning. If you guys have any questions about George, I'd love to answer them for you all. He is a newer ambassador, so I'm learning a lot as we get to know him. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. We're going to put him over here, give him a little bit more space to run around in. What do you think, George? What do you think? And as always, thank you guys so much for donating. There is a donate button on this video and on all of our videos. We really appreciate it. George has been a patient with us for over just about a year and a half now. So he has been with us for a long time, and every day he needs to eat and get cared for, and all of the donations we receive go right towards the care of our patients like George, and then also our other 30 ambassadors. So we're really really grateful for all of your support, especially now during this crazy time. Hi, buddy. Hi. So you can see his little red skin a little bit, that little stump that he has there. Are wood turtles native to Maine? Yes. So wood turtles are a northeastern species of turtles, so they occur all throughout New England, and then up into Cape Breton in Canada as well. And then they go a little bit into Ontario and as far west as Michigan, so they're kind of occurring around the Great Lakes. And they are considered an endangered species. That's really the only place that they occur. They do go all the way down as far south as Virginia, but their range has really changed quite a bit in response to habitat fragmentation. And they also, because they're so large and charismatic, they also have been a big part of their issues have been people taking them from the wild and keeping them as pets. So they were definitely harmed by the pet trade quite a bit. I know where you're going. As you guys can see, he can get moving pretty quickly if he wants to. He is, you know, a terrestrial turtle, so he is equipped to live on land and to get around on land. You're such a good boy. Where are you going? I know. And you can see how well he blends in with the leaf litter here. He would definitely be well camouflaged out in the wild. All of our turtles are becoming very active right now. They emerge from their wintering places in the spring, in April and May, so they are becoming really active, and this is the time of year when we always advise that folks keep their eyes out when they are driving on lots of roads, like backcountry roads will have turtles that are trying to cross them. Sometimes even major highways that have habitat on either side, you'll see turtles trying to cross, and it's really hard for them to get across those areas without help. They are going to need to get some assistance from people, and some of the best ways that we can do that is by keeping an eye out. Let's go see. Hi. Look at you blending in. I know. And the best thing we can do is make sure that we're keeping our eyes out, but then we are actually able to move turtles. If it's possible, we can bring them across the road in the direction that they're going to make sure that they are safe in continuing on their journey. Some of these turtles will need to travel up to a mile to lay their eggs, and usually they're returning to the place where they were hatched from in the case of some of these terrestrial turtles. So not necessarily like a painted turtle or a snapping turtle, but a lot of our box turtles and wood turtles will return to that same nesting site year after year, and that means that they have to travel and go through whatever obstacles have been put up since they started laying their eggs there, which as a species was millions of years ago. So they definitely could use some either help ushering them across the road. They usually will outrun us when we try to pick them up and carry them across the road, but sometimes we can do that. You are just having a blast. You're burying yourselves in leaves. Yeah. Good job. And then sometimes we, if it's safe to do so and we have gloves and it's, you know, safe traffic-wise, sometimes we are able to pick them up and help them across the road. And you always want to return them to the same place that they came from, or help them along the road in the direction they were going. You don't want to take them away from their habitat, so you don't want to remove them from the space entirely. You blend right in with the leaves, mister. Sarah would like to know what wood turtles eat. So wood turtles, like a lot of our terrestrial turtles, are omnivores. They'll eat a little bit of everything. They will eat meat, so they will eat earthworms and grubs as well as carrion, so dead, rotting things if they come across them. They also will eat insects, so they do eat a lot of bugs. They will eat mushrooms and vegetation. They really like berries. So they'll eat a little bit of everything, pretty much whatever they can find. You got a leaf stuck on you, buddy. And then Zoe, he is a wood turtle. So he is a very unique species of turtle that is native to Maine and the northeastern part of the United States. Wood turtles are actually considered an endangered species, so we're thrilled to have George. He was a patient and still is considered a patient. We're taking him on his little physical therapy walk right now. He is in the process of becoming an ambassador and has been deemed non-releasable because he is missing his 2 front feet. He has 1 stub and 1 completely missing foot. Hello! Yes, so he is our wood turtle ambassador, and he will be our wood turtle ambassador. We're just waiting on that final permit from the state, but he has gotten the okay to be an ambassador from our veterinarian. He is not releasable, so we are just taking him on his physical therapy walk. He doesn't do programs yet or anything, but we're excited to have him in our new, are you caught up on some raspberry? Yeah. We're excited to have him in our nature center. We do have a tank planned for him, so we're looking forward to be able to offer him sanctuary for the next however long he'll be with us. And these guys in the wild can live to be up to 40 years old and longer than that in captivity. So we'll have him for a while. And as you can see, he's pretty big. He's most likely somewhere between 15 and 20 years old. We're not entirely sure as of yet, but there are some people who say that you can count these rings that you see on George's shell. George, we can't let you get completely lost in the weeds here. You gotta go over here. Good boy. Nice job. There you go. He does camouflage really well with all this leaf litter. And that's actually, so the reason they're called wood turtles is because of the woody appearance to their shell. They look like wood. And they even have these rings on their shell that I was mentioning that some folks say you can count to get an approximate age on our turtles, but it is an approximate age that they often will wear down or not be necessarily one per year. So I know you're just so excited to be out and about. So this is actually really good for George to get some exercise. He does live inside at the moment, and we are looking forward to getting him into an outdoor enclosure shortly so that he can have a little bit more space to move around. Hi! But we do give him walks every so often, probably a couple times a week, to make sure that he gets his exercise. He runs around, he burns off excess energy, he gets some enrichment, he gets some different smells. So he is loving this. And this is obviously something that he would normally be doing, right? Blending in into leaf litter, exploring around, digging for worms. He probably could not dig very successfully for worms because he is missing those two front legs, but in the wild they would be digging for grubs and things. Are you so handsome? Look at that face. My goodness. So yeah, if anyone has any other questions about George, I'd be happy to answer them. I know it's been a little trick walk around because he is quite fast. Yeah. But I'd be happy to answer any questions. And then as always, there is a donation button to support his care and the care of our ambassadors. The wood turtles are shaped like a lot of other terrestrial turtles. They have a domed shell, and the top part of that shell is called the carapace. So that's the back part. And then they also have an underside to their shell called a plastron. And the top part of their shell, that carapace, is where they get their name for the wood turtle. And then the plastron on these guys is actually pretty yellow and spotted. So they have quite a beautiful coloration to them, and they're kind of colored that way, dark on the top and light on the bottom, to blend in with water. So if they are wading in a stream, they'll blend in with, the dark surface of the water on top and then the silt or sand on the bottom underneath. So they're very beautiful. Jennifer would like to know any future girlfriends for him. So wood turtles are incredibly rare. We are lucky enough to have George, but that is the first wood turtle that I've seen us get in as a patient. So I would say it's probably highly unlikely that we will get another wood turtle. But, if we did, it would be possible. They're not necessarily terribly social in the wild. They will be social during their mating season, but they're not incredibly social. And so it's probably not something that he necessarily needs to feel enriched necessarily. Where are we going, mister? But he, if we did get another one that was non-releasable, it could be a possibility. It is unlikely though, because of how rare they are, because of their endangered status. Like with George, we would want to make sure that we exhausted all possibilities to make sure that they were truly non-releasable. So if you guys missed his story, George came to us as a patient for the first time last winter. He was a classroom pet after his initial injury, so he had been in a classroom for a while. We had to go through many different channels of communication to get him to us, to get him out of that classroom. It's not legal to have these guys as pets. And when we did get him to us, that injury was assessed. We talked to wood turtle researchers at Unity College who are running a wood turtle project where they radio track wood turtle populations. And they told us that they do actually see wood turtles all the time that are missing a leg and that they have pretty good survivability. So we released George with a radio tracker on him into that project. They traveled him, or they followed him as he traveled around for a few months for most of the summer. And then when they tracked him down again, they found that he was missing his other front foot. So he had unfortunately gotten that nipped off by, most likely by a predator. Raccoons are the biggest predators of these guys, but you know, coyotes and other small mammals and foxes can also do some damage. So so he was unfortunately not releasable. We tried it, didn't work out, and he is still able to get around pretty well, but he wouldn't be able to dig at all without the use of his front legs. This catbird is having a really fun time today. Is there anything we can do to support wood turtles in the wild? Absolutely. So habitat destruction and fragmentation is probably the biggest thing that is risking our wood turtles. So maintaining their habitat and you know, trying to do what we can to make sure that their habitat is preserved is really great. The other thing we can do is whenever we might encounter a turtle that needs help near a road is helping them to cross that road like I was talking about. So helping them across the road in the direction they're going and making sure they get to where they're going safely. You are getting all tangled up in the raspberry, buddy. Hi, bud. Hi. What are you doing? Hello. And these guys don't usually tend to live in very developed areas, although as more of the area that they live in becomes developed, they are going to be more and more impacted. So really keeping their habitat well preserved is the best thing we can do for him. I know, it is really impressive how well he is able to get around. He's actually pretty fast. A lot of people are surprised with all of our terrestrial turtles with how fast they can actually move when they want to. And it's because this is really where they're supposed to be, is on land. They are semi-aquatic, so they'll live on land for most of the summer, and then he'll live in the water for most of like the winter, fall, and they'll also spend the winter under the water, so they'll completely hibernate under there. You just fell down into that little area. We're gonna come get you. All right, so I think Mr. George here is about done with his walk for today, but if anyone has any last questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know it's been a little bit of an interesting morning meeting watching him get around, but he is having a good time, and this is good for him. It's his physical therapy for the day. So please let me know if you have any other questions, and thank you guys all so much for joining. We will be back tomorrow with another one of our ambassadors, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you guys. Thanks, George. Have a great Monday.